Coming in, Jackson?
Yeah, I am. So, I know that I saw Jen.
Do you want to mute off your speaker then, Rose?
Yeah.
That's sweet.
Are you recording on yours as well?
No?
Oh, this is mine. Just a few minutes more, guys. You're just waiting on 2 more people to come along.
Available on Skype.
I think everyone's trying to get their entries in before the morning.
Okay, I think...
Can you hear us okay, Dylan and Faye?
Yeah.
This is good, because we record these sessions as well, so how well the audio is getting heard on your end will give us a good steer as the quality of the video later on. So, here it's fine, that's great.
Julio, ahead of where we get to, if everyone wants to open up their Adobe. If anyone's having any issues, prior to, just give us a shout.
Open on my screen, open on my Adobe, and the first thing I see is my data feed screen, which has been haunting me for the past 2 hours.
Oh, those column names look alright, by the way.
Yeah.
That's not the fact table, is it?
No, that's everything.
Yeah.
There's a few that are post-values that I'll do in the second one, just to see. Yeah. Because it doesn't look there's any processing rules, but again, you just got to be safe. It's so clunky. Yeah. Like the good old days where you brief in and then other things because of having everyone and then they say, here you go.
Do we know if those guys are coming down? Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah, should we kick off?
Yeah.
Cool. Welcome guys on the phone. Welcome Ryan, so I know it's your first time. Got a few seasoned vets in the room already. Yeah, just a bit of a recap around how we want these sessions to work and how generally it works out best for everyone. So if anybody's brought anything new to the table in this session, this is what we're trying to achieve, or basically this is this project or this bit of difficulty we're having with Adobe, and this is what we want to find out. Generally speaking, we try to structure our sessions around those kind of problems, just make it a bit more interactive for everyone else involved. So I think, Dylan/Faye, I think you guys had an initial problem that you wanted to look at within this session?
Yeah, we did. What do you want to do, Dylan? Do you want to go through it, or do you want me to do it?
Yeah, if you want to take us through initially what the problem is, and then we'll all try and work through it together as a group.
Okay.
Yeah, go on, Faye.
You sure? Okay.
Yeah.
So we've got a couple of issues we've come across. The first one is we manage the all the web pages for health information on booper.co.uk. And when I was running the analytics for March, I was finding a lot of entries across the health blog as well, where we had duplicate entries. So we had page names that were also ending with null, N-U-L-L.
Cool.
So I've got no idea where they would have come from. It's nothing that we feel we've done in any of our activities. So if anyone has any insight into that, that would be fantastic.
Cool. I think what we'll start off with doing then, we'll look at how that then gets set, where this entire source of that comes from, and try and work through it and see if we can get it to fire for us, and then we'll actually know where it's coming from. Is that cool with you guys?
Yeah.
And then just if you don't mind, So what sort of other things do you do within analytics, or what sort of other information, or what how are you using it, and how can you get more value out of it, I guess, once you get these answers?
I think that's something you've been looking at, Dylan, isn't it? Is it Christian you've been working with on the dashboards and things?
Yes, I mean, we run a kind of, our health information is split into two areas at the moment. We have a directory at A to Z of condition kind of topic pages, and then also the blog that's relatively new. So we do collect monthly kind of basic metrics, analytics, page views, unique visitors, and kind of everything you'd probably be aware of. I think the biggest issue we've got is probably because we're all very much self-taught. So, for example, when Christian created the new dashboards for us that look amazing, we're seeing different numbers from our old dashboard to the new dashboard, and we don't really know how to get around that and whether we're using them correctly and such. But we do want to become a lot better at using the analytics to kind of structure our content going forward as well. So instead of just creating a monthly data file, we'll look at it a bit more in depth and try and figure out which piece of content are working, why they're working, why they're not working. But we're very much in our infancy. As I say, we're kind of very much self-taught, so there's a fair few issues there.
So they currently have access to two dashboards, so an old one and a new one. Would it be worth even trying to understand the difference between, or how they would go about looking at the logic that's different across both of those dashboards as well? Mm-hmm. Yeah, cool.
Cool. So I think we can break this down into three tasks that we'll look through. The first one, I think, first off, let's do a bit of an intro into the interface of Workspace, things like that, and just kind of show you where each of these page names are coming from. So we'll take that as like parts 1 and 2. That'll allow us to kind of break things down a bit at first, looking into all the page names, maybe do some segmentation around that, some filtering. Then secondly, we'll look into the actual pages themselves, see if we can replicate that, and then we'll actually know where those nulls are coming from. Then thirdly, we'll have a look into your Workspace report that we built for you a little while ago, and we'll just try and compare that to what you've seen previously, and let's just try and understand both sides of that. Does that work for you guys?
Sounds good to me.
Sweet. Cool. So we'll kick off then. We're just looking into the page names. So if everyone's good to go on this kind of a screen, basically all we're going to do is just start off by adding a free form table. So this is literally, as it says on the tin, is very similar to like a pivot table almost. So you can just drag and drop your facets and everything like that in there and just filter your data down by whatever you need essentially. So the main thing that we generally base things off of in Adobe is page name. This is what feeds most of the events across the site, and it's just set within pretty much every event. So if we were to look at just a search in the top left here and search page, we can see it populates here. So if we just grab that and drop that into drop data there, cool. So we can see ordered by whatever value we've got in here. So instead of occurrences, we're going to take a look at visits. And again, instead of dropping it down here, we're just going to drop it into the top columns there. So we can see quite quickly, we've got how many visits and how many occurrences happened across all of our pages on the site. So, because at the minute we're looking into health information pages, this is going to be a bit mammoth for us as it is. So what we're going to do is just cut it down a bit further. So as you can see, as I hover over there, that opens up that little filter icon. So if I select into that, and then just say health management. And then give it a second. Cool. So we can now see that this is just filtered it down to just where anything contains health management. Which, am I right in saying, guys, that covers everything aside from the blog pages? That covers the health information pages?
Yeah, right? That's right.
Awesome. So is it on these pages where you've started seeing the nulls occurring?
Yes, there were some on there, and also I think the main issue was on the blog, but there were some on there as well, I'm pretty sure.
Cool, right. So what we're going to need to do is to be able to figure out which ones we're going to be looking at. So before we can start debugging it and trying to figure out how is this actually firing, we need to look at the initial page. So if I click into that filter again and put on Show Advanced, you can then set multiple criteria if it contains this or doesn't contain that or starts with this or so on and so forth. What we're going to do is contains no. So you can see here the match at the top that I've set is if all criteria is met. You can also set that if any of them. So if I wanted to search for health management or contains no, that's to do. But in this instance, we want to return everything that contains health management and everything that contains no. So if I apply that now, sweet. So here we can see overall not a massive amount of visits that are coming through each one of these. So we might struggle a little bit to try and generate them ourselves. But we'll give it a good go and see if we can generate that. So what I'm going to do is try and find this page that this relates to. And I'm going to do that just by dropping the URL, this one, on top of this page now. There we see. So now we can see where this has been sourced from and what URL on the site this has come from. Just because sometimes you'll see that these page names are sometimes either really obvious, so it's like homepage, something like that, and we know where we're coming from on it. But others like these where it's like healthy-mind, it could be quite a few different makeups across the site. So that's just, in a nutshell, very quickly, how I'd go down to identifying what the problem area is on the site. Is everyone with me so far? All good?
Yes. Yeah.
Are you guys finding stuff on your end at the same time, or? It's just good for us to be able to validate whether or not it works on your end as well.
Yeah.
That's why we typically.
Cool. So we'll crack on then. So all I'm going to do there is just select this one URL and hit copy. So Control C, and then go back to site. So one thing you'll realise there, just before I move on, the difference between these and a standard URL is you can see that the bupa.co.uk has been removed prior to. So that's just in the interest of removing duplication around it. So we remove the domain off there. So all we need to do is just copy that and then paste it onto the end of the initial setup there. So if you've already got https www.bupa.co.uk, then just paste it onto the end of that and hit enter. Cool. So, now that we're on this page, we need to try and figure out what it is on here that's generating these null pages, essentially. More often than not, these are generated by looking into certain JavaScript commands. So, whether it's a case of it's going to be the same page and it will be generating something on here that'll say null. So, this user technically hasn't seen another page, it's just an event has been caused on this page that's then caused the null to occur on the end of it.
Okay.
So all I'm going to do, I'm going to use this tool that I constantly use all the time and 100% recommend that everyone downloads it. It's called Data Slayer. Literally just shows you every single tag that's firing whenever a page loads. So you can see here that underneath there, it shows you the URL that's just loaded and then all the things around it that's firing. This would then mean that because of this, I'll be able to find out as soon as the page name changes from Healthy Mind to Healthy Mind Null. So, I can't 100% say that we're going to be able to get to the bottom of what's causing this, but I can say that it's not a different page that's going to be generating this. It will be a JavaScript command that's on the page that will be altering something on there, and then it'll be generating this additional page name. So, from your guys' perspective, you don't need to worry that people on site are seeing a lot of error pages or anything like that. It will just be a bit of JavaScript on there. So, bearing that in mind, let's try and break the website. All I'm going to start off with doing is just looking into anything where I don't think it's going to be changing the page. So, for example, these ones, I'm pretty sure these are going to a new URL. Yep, there you go. So, because that's moved to a new URL, we could then see that the page name changes completely, rather than just adding a null on the end of it. my hypothesis is that I think this will just be staying on the same URL, but it will just be a bit of JavaScript on there that's causing an event that won't change the URL. So I'm just going to go back to that.
So would it mean that in situations like this, you would have to continually try to debug it by going into each thing? Okay.
Yeah. If it's absolutely necessary that we need to find out where it's being thrown from, yeah. But more often than not, because we know that that doesn't cause an issue for the user, it is just something that fires through to us. We can just disregard it within analytics. But I'll give it 2 more attempts to be able to figure it out. Then if not, we'll move on.
Because would it roll up into, like, so to avoid, I would assume there'd be 2 different lines. One with no suffix as /null, and then others where it won't.
Correct.
But they're essentially the same page.
In theory, yeah.
Okay.
But it can tweak some of the figures. So, for example...
So there'd be, like, not duplication, but I guess they're the same thing.
Yeah. So, if, for example, if you're looking at occurrences, you can see that you've got all these additional ones. So you've got 1,600 against that.
Yeah.
So, therefore, that's an additional 1,600 occurrences that are going to your top-line figure.
Yeah, and then, but currently it wouldn't roll into it, it'll be a different line item considering that it's got the suffix as null. So to clean up reporting and stuff like that, what typically tends to happen? We need to find the cause and then, okay.
So find the cause just to be able to confirm that nothing's broken for the user. But seeing as the fact we're seeing this many come through, so you can see there's quite a few lines that have come through.
Yeah.
I'd say it's probably not user affecting, but if then we want to strip that out of reporting, we can do that pretty easily.
Would we have to strip it out, or could we not aggregate?
You'd want to strip it out to avoid any kind of duplication. So like I say, within the occurrences thing,
It will be on the same page rather than actually being a new visitor that's coming and landed against that URL.
spot on.
Okay.
So are you guys happy with that on the phone?
Yeah, I think I get that. So with there being so many, do you think that would be some kind of central issue, or are you suggesting that we'd have to go through each of those pages to kind of discover what's happening on each of those pages?
I suppose the first thing that I'd ask is, are all of these new pages, have they just been pushed live since you started seeing them, or has the null version of these just all come through at once on older pre-existing pages?
It's on existing pages. All the pages were there previously. There might be some. There was a lot of null pages in the blog area. So obviously we had blog, but not enough to. There was more nulls than there were new pages, if you see what I mean. So yeah, it just suddenly appeared. We've never had it before. They all just suddenly appeared in the March analytics and they've skewed everything. Okay.
So the next kind of thing that I'd think of then, if everything seems to have come through on a single day, is like Ryan suggested, we're just going to dig down into it and try and find the actual source date of that. Because given on the information you've provided there, that sounds like there might be a redirect change or something like that that would cause it. So my gut feel is this might be related to the HTTPS redirect that went live around mid-March. So because of that page would then be redirecting onto itself. It's not causing another page view from the user's perspective, but it might be altering the JavaScript command that's being sent to send the page name off.
It looks like they're all hub home pages as well. Those 13 on the page there, which are the only component library pages that we have in the directory.
Okay.
If that if that helps at all.
Cool. I'll tell you what, let's try and filter this down to try and figure out where the exact date start is. Then once you go from there, you can try and figure out what might have changed on the site to cause that. So what we're going to do now is just going to create a new segment based on the rules that we've created here. So how we're going to do this is just going up to the new at the top left, then create a segment. So essentially we're just going to replicate that filter that we just did before, but rather than breaking it out by each page name, because we're going to want to break it out by day, rather than having rows and rows and rows and rows and rows of data, we're just going to have one single segment that just says, this rule's been met, how many times has this happened by day. So obviously we based it previously just on page, and all I've done there, just typed it at the top, clicked on it and dragged it in. So you can see here, again, these are a bit more complicated than what we had previously within that filtering. What we're going to do is just drop that down to contains all of. And then same rule that we had before, health management. And then drag that in again, underneath it. And again, you can see that it's popped up with the and. So that's the exact same clause as what we saw before. We can say and or.
Just 2 weeks ago we did the segment piece, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just going through that again, yeah.
Yeah. So within this, we're just going to say it contains all of. No. So just giving it a title now of just something like. Cool, just something like that. And we can see in the top right here, this little ticker will tell you how many times that this has occurred in the last 90 days. So it's a really good kind of proof of concept of just saying, in this segment that you've just created, is it actually working? Because the sheer amount of times you'll build a lot of really complex rules and just return 0. It's like, well, I need to try and simplify this a little bit. So all I'm going to do that is hit save. Cool. So you'll see on the left-hand side here, it always pushes it up to the top, the most recently edited within segments, because that's what was created. So what we're going to do is drag that above where we've got visits. The reason why you drag something above rather than on top of it, drag it on top of it, it'll replace it. Again, if you drag it to the side of it, it'll just create another column. Underneath it, it'll do pretty much the same thing. Cool. So we know that we don't need to break this down by page anymore because this filter is already just showing us where these pages are coming from. So we can now X that off and we're looking by day. And then just drop that in there. There you go. So we can see on March the 3rd, it came out absolutely nowhere. Therefore, what I'd say to you guys on the phone is just maybe have a word with anyone that might have potentially pushed anything live around that. Any of the IT guys that might be involved in the HTTPS migration. That's just a theory. But this is quite clear that something got pushed live on March the 3rd that's caused this.
Okay.
So who would be the next person that we would have spoken to in this situation, historically?
I don't know, but just from memory, because that was a day that was my last day out on holiday next week, so I remember that.
So it's your fault.
No, I can just picture that day, and I'm sure there was a release for a dental fix. I don't know if that would have impacted it.
Potentially.
But then did get rolled back, that was the thing, because it did cause some issues.
Is there a day where it ceases to show them?
Whilst we're here actually, we'll just do a little bit on visualizations as well. So,
but in terms of releases, Jen, Robert, Usno, or Stefan?
yeah, that's who I would have gone. I would have gone to Stefan. So that's pretty consistent every day. So all I've done there is just selected all the cells, visualize, fine.
It was definitely a dental fix, but I don't know what else went on in the release. I don't think it was kind of the BAU release, it was
Something specific. Okay?
So a lot of the times when you get requests to kind of debug or try to identify any of these sorts of issues, is this the approach that you typically take that covers for the majority of those scenarios?
Yeah. First off is just make sure that it's not customer impacting.
Yeah.
So because of that, if it is customer impacting, you can then say this is super high priority, we need to get this resolved.
Yeah.
Then, as Ryan suggested, you just take a look back over the days. Okay, was it point 1 essentially? Where did it start from?
Yeah.
That way you can identify that this is the priority of the problem, this is when it happened, what's next?
No was one that came up last time, I think, wasn't it? The health assessment someone was looking that came up.
It's quite a common thing across the day.
So prevalence of that occurring, is that just a business as usual thing and it just happens, or is there something we could do to mitigate the occurrence of null thing when it gets pushed live? I mean,
we need to know more about it, to be honest.
Yeah.
From my perspective, I tend to look over it just because we know that it's not customer impacted, therefore it's not going to be behaviour impacted.
Yeah.
But the only thing that I'd advise is being aware of it when it comes to looking at non-deduped numbers.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at unique visitors, that's not going to be a problem.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at page views or occurrences, that might be a problem because it'll inflate your number every single time that occurs.
The segment to remove more from
Are there any occurrences where null would be appropriate? No, really.
It depends. If you, for example, set a command for a page name to contain null, I don't know for what reason. Say, for example, if you were looking at form submissions and you wanted to know the percentage of people that where it had a name in the form versus when it didn't, and you got it to fire off null when it's not contained anything in the form, that'd be when you split it. It's just about knowing your data set, I suppose.
Could you not define it like overall? Well, then in those circumstances, you'd always recommend to put it in like undefined or something.
Exactly.
Rather than an null
Yeah.
value.
But those would be the only reasons as to why you'd find stuff like that within the data.
Okay.
It's just when you've specifically requested it.
So I guess to sum up what you've just taken us through on being able to use filters on a page name to identify what area of the website we're looking at, understanding how you can put on a filter to identify those that meet those conditions, create a segment so that we can then overlay that against time to see when the issue started to occur, and then being able to then take action items to say, okay, what happened on these particular days, and who do we speak to see how we can resolve the issue.
Spot on.
Okay.
I found the email with what was included in it.
Oh, awesome.
Site-wide remove hard-coded live person tag, my router, health systems, mobile, viewer shield, assistant nav, pending defects, homepage load issues, site-wide GSA, homepage redesign, business views, news area,
Yeah, so I guess without having to...
but there was an analytics one in there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they remove the site-wide. Tab control, data like global analytics, tested that. It should have been resolved at the time of development. Potentially. Again, we need to speak to the actual people around that and try and get to the bottom of it. People who are going to be a bit more in the know about the ins and outs of the technical deployment.
Yeah, cool. Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, I guess without trying to solution this particular issue anyway, at least we know what steps will need to be taken to be able to identify them.
Cool.
Cool.
So, next up, I don't suppose you guys have a link that you could share with the group to your currently existing dashboards, that way we can kind of kick off of comparing between the two.
And when did you get the previous dashboard or the previous figures from? Is that something that was set up by us as well, or no?
That was set up a long time ago. So probably going back 5 or 6 years.
Okay, and was that something that was sent to you via Adobe as well? Do you know, by any chance?
I'm not sure. I think it did come from the digital team at the time. What shape or form they were in, I've got no idea. So it's just kind of been handed down as people have left.
Yeah, sure. No, that's fair. I guess I'm just trying to understand, like, you know, you mentioned there's a use case, which we'll go into now anyway, where you've got reports that are being generated for you now that defer in the information it's providing you to legacy reports, but wondering why that comparison would take place anyway. I guess, you know, if there's logic or something associated with the original reports that you'd want to ensure stays true in this instance.
Yeah, I think so. The request for the new reports was to do with kind of a global content sharing project, so that everyone taking part in that project were creating the same or as similar as possible dashboards to simplify the reporting. And yeah, so that was generally for the blog, but we kind of figured that if we're doing that for the blog, we should really be doing the same thing for the A to Z as well.
Okay. Okay, sweet.
Cool. So yeah, if you guys could share with us the information that you had previously, yeah, and then we'll just run through and then try and figure out where the discrepancy comes in.
It's a report in Adobe called HM Management, if you can search for it, or do you want me to send a link?
1 second.
And also, sorry, just going back to the null issue, did you say Stefan was the best person to just drop a note to asking what might have gone live on that date?
Yeah, I think Stefan or Jen Robert.
Okay, great, thank you.
So is that all one word, HM management?
And HM and then management is a separate word. That's it.
I don't think I've had that shared with me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get a link again.
You guys. How do you get the report, the old report? Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, it's a bit muffled, but I can hear you.
How do you guys get the old report?
It was, well, is that, who, I've forgotten who we emailed to have it added, have it shared with us. But that HM management is the report that we would use.
Okay, yeah, sure. Okay, well, I think one of the things that we wanted to achieve out of this session is to take a look at the logic that's used to drive that reporting figure and compare it with the logic that the current reports have. And I guess the outcome of that exercise is it empowers everyone to be able to understand what's the logic associated with some of the figures that they see on the reports that they have in front of them. I guess what we've tried to look through here is to try to find the name of that report, but if it gets sent to you by another individual, I assume that there might be some stuff managed on that end. So if it's sent to you by a person, right?
No, we have access to the dashboard.
Okay, so it's an Adobe dashboard. That's the legacy report.
Yes, yeah. Sorry, misunderstanding. Yeah, we have access to it, so we access this when we need it, basically.
Sure. Okay.
Would you be able to share that?
Do you
Yeah,
have a link that you can send to us?
I'm trying to.
I'm just
get
sending
now.
it.
Okay.
My analytics workspace is not really working very well at the moment.
Let's have a look.
Christian, I've just sent it to you. I don't know if it's come through.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, it might work. Hopefully it'll work. I think it's HM dashboard, actually. Not. I think it's been changed.
HM dashboard, did he say?
Yeah, rather than HM management. It was always HM management, but it's saying dashboard now.
I just think it's a good exercise to be able to say, because people say it all the time, oh, why does this report have this number and why does this other report have another? Being able to say, okay, it's because it factors in these cases, or it's aggregating against this timeline, or, you know, it makes it easy for people to answer those sorts of questions straight away.
Oh, yeah.
Because then we've got to go through this process where we take a look into your report and then...
Let's say I don't think that's a shared link. I think that's just an actual URL.
I don't know if I can share.
Like I say, if you...
Is it on your screen at the moment? Are you able to present?
Yeah, I can do that.
Ah, there we go.
Oh, there you
If
go,
you
done.
can tell me how to share as well, then I'm obviously missing something.
All good, it's up on our screen.
Oh, there we go. It did work.
Coolio.
Interesting.
So I suppose, where are the main discrepancies coming from that you guys have been seeing?
I haven't looked at it for a while. I believe we just saw huge discrepancies in page views and...
I think unique...
When the key stats loads. Sorry, Dylan.
Yeah, I think unique visitors, page views, I think were the main Well, the main two. So that HM dashboard there, kind of going back to it, it's not really kind of fit for purpose anymore anyway, because a lot of the data on there we're unable to use or is not really relevant to us.
Okay.
So actually, Johnny Isaacs helped me kind of dig a bit deeper into those a couple of years ago. So, for example, when we're looking at where visits are coming from, we've got a few different instructions to what's actually on this dashboard, I think.
Okay. Cool. So I suppose if we just kick off with, let's just look at the difference between the two and try and figure out what's gone wrong. So the first thing that I need to kind of identify is, first off, is how this is being identified. So let's click at that.
As we were saying previously, it may just be that we're not using the new dashboard correctly, or we've not been using the old dashboard correctly. It may just be a training thing.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
That's what this is all about.
Yeah. So, just to push the thought. So, whilst this one loads up, this looks first off as though it's been filtered by the page management. So what I was saying before in regards to having duplication within there, if you were to look at this list on the right hand side here, you would end up with quite a lot of duplication if you were to sum all these up, just because if somebody was to view the sprained ankle page as well as the beta blockers page, if you were to add those together, that would be one unique visitor in each page, but technically it's still only one unique visitor. But, so, now we're saying that 8th April to 8th May, 8th April to 8th May. Cool, so total number of visits is not included in this report. Unique visitors, 190,000 versus 185. Cool. So, just to kind of be really transparent about how these pages are being segmented within this. If I was to click this and say show data source, this would then show me exactly where this is being fed from. So if you're ever unsure about any of these reports that are coming out from the workspace or anything like that, and you just really want to dig into like how it's being built or any kind of filters around it, this is how you go. So all you need to do is just click the little coloured icon on the top left, and then that'll open up your data table it's being fed from. So here I can see that this is showing all visits from all unique visitors that have seen a health information page, and that's being defined as any visit that contains health-information, or is the health information homepage, or contains all of newsroom. So therefore we can see that this contains all of the SME data as well. However, from looking at this looks like it's just including the health management site. So therefore you'd be excluding all of the SME newsroom pages.
Right.
Does that make sense to you guys?
It does, yeah. But I don't think we would track the newsroom, would we, Faye?
Not all of it, no.
So if we take out the newsroom filters,
So because this is all done via a segment, all we need to do there is remove that off.
I guess it depends if the newsroom covers off our health blog, because they're in Sitecore in the same place.
Okay. So I think that might need to come down to you guys to know exactly like what do you need to be able to have visibility of, what do you not. But I've just made that change now, and all I need to do is just hit refresh, and then that's updated your figures. So therefore you can see 187, latest 185, so 2,000 out, which is to be expected around those kind of things, just because we're never going to have it 100% perfect with that.
Okay.
same reporting suite looking at the same data.
So we know that this is based off page names, and yeah, so this one's based off the page names, whereas this one's based off the actual URLs.
Okay, so there's probably more URLs. Well, obviously there is more URLs that's factored into this than the URLs that are factored into the reporting that they have.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it would have to something like.
Does that make sense to you guys?
Yes. So we could potentially add, we get our heads around it, we could potentially add the newsroom filter to just show, because obviously none of the UK press team also use the newsroom. So
Sorry, Faye, it's difficult to hear. Do you mind?
Sorry, of course. The UK press team also use the newsroom, so presumably you could, from the sort of stuff you've been showing us, presumably we could add the newsroom and filter it to just show our blog, potentially, if we can find a sort of a unique tag. We've got blog in the unique page identifiers, so could we filter it to just show our stuff?
So are you thinking if you can have a separate dashboard set up to be able to show the newsroom data, is that right?
Yeah, would you want it separately, Dylan?
Well, yeah, you've already done that.
That's done.
Yes.
So I've just removed that out of this health information segment, so that'll be applied across everywhere on the site, on the Adobe.
So the four dashboards you created, Chris, two were for the blog, so for the newsroom area, and two were for the A to Z.
Yep.
So could we, I think what Faye's asking is for this A to Z one that had the newsroom segment in it, because we share that with the press team, can we filter that so that we just pull out our pages and include it on the A to Z dashboard, or does it need to be a totally separate one?
Well, given all the stuff that we've run through today, that could be something that you guys should be able to add in, or if you wanted to, we could pick that up in the next session.
Yeah, so give it a stab and see if it works, and we can run through it.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, that'd be awesome for you guys to be able to bring that back and show, here's where we got up to with it.
Okay,
Whether or
cool.
not, even if you don't manage to get it all 100%, that's still awesome. Just bring in your attempts, and then we'll crack on.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So in essence, it's just a case of finding what part of the URL is unique to our blog and segmenting it that way.
So just as a tip, what I'd approach it as is I'd create the segment in the same way that we have done today. And if you apply your segment up here, on the top of the page there. So for example, if you were to create one that says is newsroom or is not newsroom, then you can put that on the top. And that would mean that you'd be quite easy to filter between the two.
Okay.
And also, if you ever need to, just another thing as well, we record these sessions as well. So if you ever need a replay as to the steps that are needed to do it, as you give it a crack, you could always rewatch the video, which I can send the link around.
That'd be perfect. Yeah, great.
Sweet. Yeah, it's what we're trying to do. So we're trying to give you guys the skills to be able to make adjustments along the way, because this might be something that you want to present a particular view of now, but some of those intricacies might change over time, and we just find that it's good for us to empower all of the people that attend these sessions with the skills to be able to do those things. And then if you come back to us and say, hey, when we generated this report, we've observed these sorts of results. What do you think might be behind those observations? Where we can go in and do a bit of a deep dive to understand the different variables or the different things that influence the results that you see in the report.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, I think I've learnt more today than I have in a good while.
I'll put that in the quote for the ad for the next session.
I was thinking, that's going on my CV, that.
It was a low starting point, to be fair.
Hey, incremental values. Awesome, guys. So to run through so far, we've learnt filters on page names, combining different filters on different page names to create different segments. We've been able to identify or go through the process of identifying where an issue or results has started, to be able to isolate that down to any events that might have taken place on the page. And then we've also taken a look at how we identify the logic behind some of these different modules on the reports that we create. Is anyone wanting to ask any questions about any of those things that we covered in those little tutorials? Or is anything unclear? This is the friendly forum for you to be able to just double check on. Sound all sweet?
Yeah.
Great stuff.
So I think minutes you wanted to go through the mapping stuff.
Yeah, sweet. So one of the other things that we always get asked is how does information go from our website over to Telium, over to Adobe? So just very quickly, I was wanting to run through A, where it's coming from, B, how's it getting there, and C, where's it ending up. Cool. So if we take, I tell you what, let's start off with a campaign ID. So these are the things that we include on the end of everywhere that we want to track traffic to. So for example, if we were sending visitors to this page via PPC or something like that, we'd include this on the end of it. So all I'm going to do is cmpid equals test 1, 2, 3. Cool. So once I hit enter there, you can see that the URL within my tag debug has changed, and it's now saying test 1, 2, 3. So if I look down and find where it says campaign, we can see that that's set campaign to be test 1, 2, 3. So once that's been set there, we then need to look at how it's being picked up by Telium and sent across to Adobe. To be able to do that, we just look into my Telium. Oh man. So this guys, the fun part of Telium, it means that it requires an RSA key every single time to log in. I only got that sorted on today. Yeah, I know. I got pickpocketed last week and got my work phone, so yeah, I had to get everything else sorted out. Just coming back from last week. Trying. Good.
What are you waiting there?
Cool. So if we go in, I won't spend too much time today just running through the full internet to Telium, but this is basically the interface. So these are all the variables that we're capturing in Telium that we're capturing from the website. So within our debugger, we can see that this is being called campaign, or alternatively, it might be being called cmpid, which we know we've already been set as there. From there, we're going to look down and just, you can see it's in alphabetical order. And so we can see cmpid, external campaign, query string parameter is cmpid. So query string parameter is literally just anything that's set as a question mark command within a URL. So that could literally read as absolutely anything. If we're set up to read as that in Telium, it will pull it through. Which is quite an interesting way of being able to tag stuff up without having to use a dev, to be honest. So if you can get a front-end developer to be able to alter the URL of whatever you're doing and you want to be able to measure something without having it tagged up or anything like that, you could say, okay, as an example from the home page, we had a thing a little while ago where we needed to understand everything, all the links that were being clicked on from the home page with actually deduping for the duplicate occurrences. So for example, if you was clicking to health here, that would go to the exact same URL as if you clicked into health up here. However, we needed to be able to differentiate between the two. So rather than getting a load of extra dev work to change page names and things like that, we just changed the query string parameter that followed each of these links. So if I now clicked onto health here, we can see that in the query string parameter, it says homepage link equals product tile health. And it's the same for all the links across the homepage. This just means that we can set homepage link up as an event in Telium to be captured, and it means that we can then differentiate between everything like that. So it's just a very hacky way to get around having to use a lot of IT resource and just very quickly get things out the door.
Where do you set up that URL?
So that was done by the .team. So rather than having to get a full IT deployment and anything like that, those guys have basically briefed it in as just a full page master saying, when this is done by this and this is done by this. And then those guys have put it in.
So it doesn't require a link, but it's still a down.
So once that's in there, we then set that up as an event in here. So if I click that, I can see that homepage link has just been set up as part of the query string parameter, and it's been added into here. That means that Telium's now capturing the information, but it's not going anywhere at the minute. So if we look into these ones here, we can identify whether or not it's being pushed from somewhere. So we can see that this version of this tag isn't going anywhere at all. So this little tool here, this identifies whether or not it's been mapped to a tag or to an extension. So you can see it's got one tag, so therefore it's being pushed across, but one that we're looking at is this one. You can see it's got a tag and it's got an extension across it. If we go into tags, depending on what version I'm in, I'm in 5, let me have a look at it. Just 1 second while I move across to the global page. The global account is essentially just controlling everything, so you can't make any changes of mapped variables within the UK account, it's just within the global one. It just means we've got a consistency across all of our accounts on site. And then if I click edit in our mapped variables, you can see everything that's mapped. And also, just to be aware, I've clicked into the Adobe Analytics app measurement tag there. So that is literally the tag that controls all of Adobe Analytics. So if you really want to upset me, turn that off and push to prod. And I think there'll be a lot of tears. But let's not do that. So within here we can see all of these events that we looked through before and where they're being pushed to. So you can see they're like prod, evar, and then if we look back here, you can see all the prods and evars that are being pushed across from Telium into Adobe. And then just to go from the full end-to-end, so we know that homepage link is set up as an event. And if we find background, we can see that homepage link is mapped to prop 17. Double check. Prop 17. Yeah, so we're happy with that. And then lastly, if we just go to a new event in Workspace, I won't save that down. So display ball. And if I was to type in P17, so prop 17, see that map mirrors that. And it's the exact same as what we've got in here. Background now. Then drag that in. We can see all the links that are coming back from the home page.
And then how many occurrences that's being fired off. Nice.
So that is the full end-to-end process of how data comes from the website, gets mapped into Telium, and then Telium maps that across to Omniture, and how we can look at that entire journey. Sweet. So I think that's it for this week. Covered quite a lot of ground.
Yeah. Cool.
So yeah, if anyone's got any questions or anything, as always, drop us an email or a Skype or anything like that. Always more than happy to talk analytics.
Yeah, and like I said, I record each one of these sessions. I guess the sound check for you guys on the phone, the reason why we rely so much at the start of the conversation to see how it sounds, is last session the sound quality wasn't that great. You couldn't hear a lot of the commentary, just the video. So hopefully this time around when it downloads onto my PC, we'll have a clear one. I'll send the link out. These videos will be hosted on our SharePoint. They're basically going to be private YouTube videos available for those people I share the link with. And I've noted each different subject area. So when we covered, say for example, the creating a segment, or when we covered identifying the date for an issue, and I'll kind of create those as little bookmarks within the video so that you can jump to each one of those subject areas where possible. So yeah, Dylan and Faye, will you be able to join us in 2 weeks' time? The Academy is every 2 weeks, same time, same place.
Yeah, absolutely.
How you went with creating your report. Like I said, friendly space, worst case scenario, you create a monster of a report that's incredibly wrong, which is fantastic. It gives us lots of beefy material to focus on what might have happened along the way. Best case scenario, you've given it a crack, it works fine, you and everyone else can have the confidence to give it a crack themselves.
Sure. No, that sounds great.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank
It's
you.
Tuesday.
Cheers, guys.
Tomorrow's Wednesday. Good old short week. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.